Welcome to Behind the Backline, the podcast where we chat with merchants, brands, and industry professionals in the musical instrument, pro audio, and event technology space about their products, services, industry trends, stories, and more. Join us now as we dig into the stories behind our favorite backline gear.
Welcome to Behind the Backline. I'm Matt Jacoby, founder of Octave Media, an inbound marketing agency focused on helping music merchants develop an automated solution to increase website sales. Today, I am speaking with Jack Schwarz from Desert Sun Musical Instruments. Thanks for joining me today, Jack.
It's nice to be here, Matt. I appreciate you inviting me on this.
Yeah, it was great getting a chance to meet you at NAMM, and I'm glad to have you back today. So.
It's a pleasure always. I enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what Desert Sun does.
Well, Desert Sun Musical Instruments is a high-end boutique custom guitar builder. We have our flagship brand, which is Fano Guitars, which has actually been around for about 8 or 9 years. We acquired that brand back in January of 2017, and we've taken it from where it was and kind of refined the product, redefined the product as well as refining it, really making sure that we're delivering a high-end product. And we also are an OEM for a couple of other companies, one of them being Aero3 Guitars, and the other being Strandberg Guitars for their USA custom. But let's talk about Fano a little bit. You want to know a little bit about what our company does. One of the things that's unique about Desert Sun Musical Instruments is that although we offer production technologies and methodologies, we are basically a custom builder building one guitar at a time. One builder builds one guitar. And so my background, I was with Fender Musical Instruments for over 30 years as an executive. When I retired, had the opportunity to buy this company, and we decided to take kind of a combination of learning the production or corporate approach to manufacturing with high-end technologies such as CNCs and such, and some of the marketing approaches, but incorporating old school craftsmanship. And every one of our builders is a certified luthier that went to the Roberto Venn School of Luthiery, was highly trained, went through another long training process with us. So we build very nice high-end custom guitars that are still affordable.
Very cool. Coming from a place like Fender, what kind of sets, what you've seen for over 30 years, what kind of sets the Fano guitars apart from a Fender, in your opinion?
Well, what's unique about the Fano guitars and why I fell in love with them is that, let's face it, we have 2 or 3 staples in our industry, Fender being one of them. I would say that 75% of your working guitar players out there have a Fender in their arsenal or have a Gibson, which is the other iconic brand, in their arsenal. What Fano does is we approach it that we are an alternative guitar to a guy that might have a Telecaster, a Stratocaster, a Les Paul, a 335. We offer a guitar that's got a different voice, a little different feel. Our products are offered in either a what we call a medium distressed finish, which means that it's artificially already kind of broken in, worn in, or an NOS, which means new old stock. So a lot of our guitars are based on someone having an older vintage guitar that has a different approach. It's kind of a mash between some of the Gibson and Rickenbacker and Fender things, offering customers a different voice. And we've worn them so very much the way Levi took the approach. If you remember when Levi first came out, boy, you had to wash those things and beat them against rocks and all kinds of things before you could literally walk in them. And then they came out with the concept of stonewashed, where you put the jeans on and you felt like you'd been wearing them for years. that's kind of the approach with our guitars. Because we're a small company, we're able to focus on those small details to really provide an instrument that offers a musician a different voice with very high quality, very high tonal aspects, playability, comfortability, things like that.
Very cool. And like how well have they been accepted by anywhere from local musicians to national acts? I mean, what kind of market do you have right now?
Well, that's something that we're really proud of. We're still, like I said, we're still a very small company, and so we're not as well known or visible or recognizable to the mainstream audience out there. It's one of the reasons, that's one of our challenges that we continue to work on. But the thing that's unique and really gratifying to us is that I would say 95% of the artists who are playing our guitars came to us. We have not gone out and tried to obtain artists or get artists and say, hey, you should check this out or whatever. It's usually them calling us and saying, wow, a friend of mine showed me one of these and I really love it. Love to talk to you guys. We also don't give away guitars. We're so small. We can't, unlike say sports where, Nike will sign a endorsee and provide him tennis shoes and ads and finances. We work with our artists to share things like social media, to share things like announcements of new music that they're putting out there, or if they're going to be on TV shows. But to give you an example of some of the artists that are using our products that we keep in real close contact, Kings of Leon, Death Cab for Cutie. If you watch Saturday Night Live, Jared Scharf is playing one of our guitars. A lot of the shows. If you watch Seth Meyers at night, Seth Jabbour, who's the guitar player for Seth Meyers in the 8G band, is playing one of our guitars. Fred Armisen, who's the drummer and the leader of the band, actually plays one of our guitars when he plays guitars. We have Dory LaBelle on The Voice, which is a very popular show. They're being played. The Goo Goo Dolls, two of the players on the Goo Goo Dolls, including John Resnick, he was on the Macy's Day Parade, and here he was playing one of our guitars, loud and proud, so to speak. So we've Boys to Men. It's very diversified across the board, and we have some signature artists like Jimmy Leahy, who has played with John Waite, plays with the Dennis DeYoung Band. Jen Oberly, who plays with Vertical Horizon and is a top studio musician in LA, or Steve Fiquette, who's the guitar player for Gwen Stefani. So we've had some of our competitors say buy time or buy visibility on a float on the Macy's Day Parade or on a show, the Today Show or whatever. And our artists are providing that. On the Macy's Day Parade, we had both Gwen Stefani and the Goo Goo Dolls. And so we had our guitars very prominently viewed. So, and our artists are very passionate about it. So for example, Matt Followell might be on tour in Europe, and at 3 a.m. in the morning, he'll call Chad Hines, who's our business development artist relations guy. He'll call him and go, hey man, I was playing this and I saw this and I heard this. What do you think about this? And can I do this? So there's a real friendship relationship as well. We work very closely with our artists because we're a small company. There's not a bunch of layers that you have to get through. It's directly to us. Some of the guys will call me direct. They'll call Chad. They stop in here when they're on tour. A couple of the guys for Death Cab for Cutie came in, said, hey guys, we just want to visit, say hey, visit the shop, see what you guys are doing. We're going to be there a half hour to an hour. And we're going to tell you right now, we've reached our maximum on buying more guitars. We're carrying quite a few already. They spent 4.5 hours here, and their tour manager had to finally usher them out. And they took a couple of guitars with them that they purchased right on the spot, said, we can't leave without these. So it's that kind of passion. Everybody here is a musician. And in fact, my entire band works here. My drummer works here, my bass player works here, my singer works here. And all of us are passionate about playing guitars. We all are active musicians, players, so we tend to put that into the instruments and how we handle our relationships.
That's incredible, or that one hell of a story. I mean, the lineup you've just listed that uses the guitars and the fact that your whole band works there. That's just a great story of, like, you know, being passionate about what you do, creating quality products, and having people who rally around it naturally.
Well, I was fortunate enough to have working relationships and friendships with some of the founders at Fender. I got to spend a little bit of time with Leo Fender, but was very good friends with Bill Carson and Freddie Tavares, who were main staples of those early 50s Fender guitars. I was also very lucky to be one of the first employees when the newer regime of Bill Schultz and his team took over Fender and purchased Fender in 1985. In early 1986, I came back, and as they started U.S. production, I was one of the first 7 or 8 people there, and got to really know these people and the passion that they put into it and watch them grow as an industry. And one of the things that was so amazing for me, a lot of these guys, a guy like Dan Smith, who is legendary in our industry on guitars and was one of the main driving forces at Fender, especially in those early days. I got to learn from these guys and mentor from these guys and see what was important. So from a production standpoint, from a passion standpoint, I got to learn what was the driving things. To be honest with you, I learned all the great things that you can do and what musicians want. Being a musician myself, of course, I always put my personal touch on that. But I also learned as the company grew where they had some of their struggles, things they had to fight and overcome. And so I was able to take that and bring it into our company so that we wouldn't have those obstacles. So the thing that's great and something I'm very proud of is when customers get our guitars, they're usually blown away that they actually exceed their expectations. And same thing with the musicians that are playing them. So I think when you're delivering above and beyond what a customer is looking for sonically, playability-wise, quality, consistency, adjustability, all those things, when you provide those to a customer, you know, it's what helps grow your brand. It's what helps solidify, and it's the satisfying part of what we do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you need to love that and have that to survive in an industry that's dominated by, like you said, 2 or 3 main iconic brands, and especially for, you know, where it's kind of like some of these, you know, whether it's drums or guitars or anything these days, where it's kind of like it's a craft brewing thing, where it's coming out where you're a small fish in a pond of larger brands like that. You really have to set yourself apart from all of them and really have that drive that you guys really do seem to have.
Well, thank you. One of the things I like to look at is I like to look at other industries. You know, I try to avoid the commodities type products because, you know, those are products that that people have to have in order to, you know, function in their lives. And you know, I mean, look, you know, there are a lot of things having to do with, you know, whether it be clothing or food or things like that. And we can learn from all those industries. But what I really kind of fashion and watch closely is what some of the lifestyle companies do. So, for example, bicycles or alcohol. You know, I'm an old classic rocker. I'm a big Sammy Hagar fan. And you know, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different rums out there or tequilas. And yet Sammy Hagar found something that was unique, found a way to market it, use his notoriety and his fame to get visibility. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the product has to deliver. Mm-hmm. So for me, I try to follow the same thing. The product has to deliver. We have to provide a compelling product. I use the term around here a lot. A reason to believe or a reason to buy. we have to have something unique, something of incredible quality where people go, wow, I can't believe I just got this for this amount of money. And it fits into my lifestyle. We know that not everybody is a musician out there. There's a lot of people getting into that. Contrary to what people say, I've got grandchildren, and they and their friends, there are aspirations for them to play a musical instrument. Might not be guitar, it might be drums, it might be trumpet, but there's an interest in music. And I think one of the things that has been kind of lost in our industry sometimes is that that passion to show them why we build guitars. Why, there's a reason that the violin has literally survived for centuries. Mm-hmm. And the guitar will do the same as long as you are providing an instrument that gives that person a unique voice.
Yeah, it's definitely a great, I only know 3 chords and power chords. I'm a drummer. I can't say that I'm in that camp, but yeah, I totally understand that, everyone's got to have a way to express them. So, in terms of, like you had said that Fano was, technically acquired,
that's correct.
Do you know, since you guys didn't necessarily create it from scratch, but I assume there's some inspiration as to why the product still exists, or, why did the original owners create it? Was there kind of a story behind it coming to light in the first place?
Absolutely. So, like I said, the Fano Guitars have been around probably for 8 or 9 years. And I think what made the guitar so appealing and so unique is that the original designer took inspiration from all of the different iconic brands, whether it be Fender or Gibson, Rickenbacker. He took inspiration, however, did not create. There are a lot of Me Too companies out there that they do their own version of what the iconic brands. And these were kind of, for lack of better term, mashups, where he took different parts of those iconic instruments into a new instrument. And I got brought into the Fano world actually about a year or so before I had the opportunity to buy it. And they had gone through several different management and construction changes, different people coming in and out of the fray. Without getting into details, I was brought in to help stabilize the manufacturing. With my manufacturing background, I was able to come in and really focus on the quality, consistency, deliverability, and also from a financial standpoint, we haven't talked about that a lot. Find a way to build a high-end custom instrument, but not have it have a high-end custom pricing. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we have our standard lines of guitars, and within those models, all of them map or a minimum advertised price, because in the music industry, we've gone away from manufactured suggested retail or MSRP. We've gone away from that to what they call a map pricing. And I'm not going to get into the details of why they did that, but that's basically where our industry goes right now. So we have our standard line that map out at $19.99, so under the $2,000 mark. However, they're still all built by one builder, one guitar at a time. They feature such things as very thin nitrocellulose finish, the way the early Gibsons and the early Fenders were made. We do the distressing on them. We have very high fit and finish with a lot of modern things like different compound radiuses and higher technology in the electronics. So you got great sounding pickups. Every one of our pickups are proprietary to us, where we actually sat as musicians and voiced the pickups that would go into each guitar. All of the fretwork, the level of detail that goes into the fretwork and how the necks are made and how they adjust and what the setup is on them. All those things we're able to spend a lot of time and focus that a lot of these other companies can't. And so that's kind of, we took the design inspiration and a lot of the great things that they were doing and then improved upon them with execution on the details of how we made the guitars.
That is incredible, especially from someone who has no idea about anything about guitars. That just sounds so intricate and so involved. It's
well,
crazy.
You're a drummer, right?
Yeah, I am.
You're a drummer.
I am.
So you know that if a drum does not have a good sounding multiply rim, if it doesn't have really good bearing edges underneath the head, if you're not putting the right heads and they're not voiced well and they're not built well, it may be a really sturdy instrument, but it's not going to provide you either a unique sound that's going to sound a little bit different. It's also not going to have that look, that vibe, but ultimately not the performance. And when it comes down to music, it's all in the performance. Now imagine if you could get a drum that provided you everything that a top-line drum would give you: proper bearing edges, proper multiply, say, a 10-ply birch tom, and the right sizing and the right heads and the right voicing. And out of the box, you picked it up and just had to tune the head a little bit, and you had this great custom-sounding tom, but you could get it at pricing that was competitive with other companies that were doing their production line versions. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you be drawn to that piece of instrumentation?
Definitely. I mean, just knowing how many drums come off, overseas production lines and where the quality has gone. And I've had this conversation with a premium drum maker, and knowing that is a difficult market for a drum to be in, that drummers prefer presentation over sound, which I would completely disagree with. But
you can't generalize like that, Matt. I think look, there is a certain faction in every musical instrument where the visual and even in music. I mean, I played in the LA area during the 80s where it was all show and no go, so to speak, Mm-hmm. But I really don't believe that the mass group of people that are musicians, that sure, there's an aesthetic thing. I mean, our guitars have to look good. There has to be a visual appeal. Mm-hmm. However, it has to deliver on so many other aspects. It's the same thing. And again, using other industries. Bottom line is, a car can look incredible, but if it won't get you where you want to go and doesn't do so economically, comfortably, the delivery on it, who would want to buy a Ferrari that, drove like an old Willys Jeep? Bottom line is, there's so many aspects of it. And the same thing with a musical instrument. There is a visual aspect to it. It has to have a cool factor, which I believe all of our guitars do. Mm-hmm. But there has to be a performance value as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you can't, and like I was saying with a couple of people regarding drums, you can't rely solely on the sound guy to fix the problem. The quality has to start at the actual instrument.
Yep. So, you brought up, manufacturing offshore, and I spent probably the last 10 years of my career at Fender. I spent visiting over 39 factories over in Asia. And if anybody doesn't think that these companies are getting better and better and more competitive, better open their eyes. The thing that makes our US-made guitars so desirable is because we keep all of those other companies in our rearview mirror, seeing where they are, what they're offering at the price, and going, okay, we need to be competitive, not just in pricing, but in our deliverability of what we're delivering for that price. So for example, if an Asian company could offer the exact same model that we do for, say, $10.99 rather than $19.99, we better give the customer a reason why that extra $900, he's getting so much more for that $900. As soon as you start saying, oh, well, that's offshore, that's made in Asia, that's made offshore, whatever. It's not the quality. You would be remiss. And as a business owner, as a manager of a company, if you do that, you're heading down the wrong path, in my opinion. And I've seen U.S. manufacturers make that mistake in many industries. I think, if you take companies like Toyota and Honda, I think they taught U.S. car manufacturers a lot.
I believe it.
And the music industry is the same way.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm sure the stereotype is hanging around longer than for a lot of industries than we even realize, and we're going to start to get lost in that if we don't keep up with the changing times, which is true for everything. You start talking to younger people. I mean, even younger than the millennials out there. Like I said, I keep touch with, I've got a couple of grandsons that are 11 and 13 years old, and I ask them not only about when I'm recording music and writing songs, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But also, what do you think about this being made in China, or this being made in Korea, or this being made in India, or this being made in Canada, or this being made in Germany? Does any of that matter for you? And ultimately, what it comes down to is, what are you getting for the dollar? For the money you're spending, what are the features and benefits of the product? What does it offer you? And what is the quality? How long is it going to last? And what's the potential resale value? If I have this Samsung Galaxy S6 as opposed to an S9, and I'm going to the S9, does that S6 still retain any value? The answer to that is yes, it does, because there are still people that are not ready to step up to the brand new model that would love to have one or two generations, very much like used cars. Mm-hmm. And so there is a retention of value. And there are other products that are throwaway products that don't, without naming names, but there are, entry-level instruments made by a multitude of manufacturers that once you've bought that product and played it for a while, there's no any intrinsic value. And so for example, if you need fretwork on it, or in the case of drums, you need to have the edges, redone, it's not worth investing the money into it. You might as well just go buy another one. Mm-hmm. I call it my toaster theory. You go out and buy a toaster and you use it until you don't. And then when it stops and it starts burning your toast and doesn't work well, you throw it away and you get another toaster. You don't take it to a repair guy and go, can you fix my toaster because it has intrinsic value and it's a family heirloom, I don't have a whole lot of
musical instruments. Come on,
I don't have a whole lot of
Eric Clapton's guitar going for $280,000.
Oh wow, yeah. I can't see my gold-plated toaster going for that kind of price anywhere. Well, cool. Well, aside from obviously you guys build them one at a time, so I'm guessing that they're probably only available directly from you, or do you guys actually distribute anywhere?
We have global dealers.
Okay.
So we have dealers throughout the U.S. We have a lot of international dealers. One of our biggest markets, believe it or not, is in Japan. Our Japanese dealer is, adding more and more to his orders every month. And when we saw him at NAMM, he was excited because they've captured the imagination of a lot of the Japanese players who have such a multitude of different options, but they've realized that this gives them a different voice, a different look, different feel, and they've really taken off. Domestically, here in the U.S., you can buy them directly through our website. So in areas, say in the Midwest, like Montana, South Dakota, Iowa, we don't have as many dealers in those areas. So we had to offer the product online as well, so that people that want to buy our products can get it, and they can get it directly from us. Internationally, we have great coverage. And then we have a lot of, major dealers around the country that also handle and sell and offer our guitars. And that roster of dealers is growing all the time. So we just added 3 or 4 more dealers in the past 2 weeks, for example. So we're available in both ways.
Wow. Okay, that was super misleading. So the fact that you guys can make guitars one by one by hand and have that kind of coverage you definitely have got a lot of power and knowledge behind that. Your time at Fender has definitely paid off for this kind of thing, I suppose.
Well, yes, it has, and in fact, I even went one step further. 3 others. So we have 8 people here in our shop and office, and 3 others are former Fender employees as well.
Okay, so you guys are all kind of familiar with how it was done and how you want to do it, huh?
That's correct.
That's very cool. Well, last quick thing. What's your website so that people can find out more about your product?
It's www.fanoguitars.com. We're also on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. So if people want to go visit our Facebook page, we're constantly posting pictures of everyday people who play our guitars, as well as a lot of the artists. One of our new artists was just on the Today Show the other day, and so we've got a clip of the band that he's playing with and their appearance on the Today Show. We're very active in social media, and like I said, our website is very robust, and if you see something to your liking, you can buy it right there. We also offer a lot of our parts and accessories. So for those people that already own our products and they want to get some different pickups, or they want to get a new pickguard, or they want to, maybe they bought the guitar with a gig bag but want to buy a case. We offer all those things on our website as well. And what's nice is you can go on our website and see videos of some of the artists that are playing our guitars. You can go on there. We have a social media page, so you can see where all the links to that. So it's really a central location. Again, that's www.fano guitars.com. And we'd love for you to visit us, and we'd love it even more for you to check out our guitars.
Awesome. That is the best plug ever. And I will also put a link to that, as well as some of your social media on the show notes after we get it published. So
great. And we will do the same. Now, I wanted to thank you. I love having opportunities to talk about our products, to talk about our company, and I really appreciate you giving me that opportunity. Like I said at NAMM, I really enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, I had a great time talking to you too. It was it covered a lot of ground, and I'm glad it got you to think about a few things after we had reconnected via email. So yeah, I appreciate it again. Thank you for listening to Behind the Backline, brought to you by Octave Media. You can find Octave Media at www.octave.media. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast in iTunes to learn more about great products, and leave a review to let us know what you thought of today's episode. We encourage you to share us with your friends and colleagues via social media, and we'll see you next time. Take care.